Hi, this is Christine Collister with John Broughton on Retrospectives on 3SER Casey Radio.
Just to start us off, tell us about growing up on the Isle of Man, and in particular, what music was grabbing your attention when you were really getting into music?
Well, I was quite late getting into pop music as such. Having said that, my mum and dad both met in a skiffle group. My mum played the washboard, and my dad played the T-box bass. So we had skiffle music. We had Lonnie Donegan.
Oh, yes.
A load of Lonnie Donegan and a Beatles record and a box set of Hawaiian guitar music, which baffles me to this day why they had it, but whatever. And we had a dance set record player. And then when I was a teenager, I really listened to the radio. And we had Radio Caroline just off the coast of the Isle of Man,
yep,
which was a pirate radio station. And we also listened to Radio Luxembourg. And that was about it, really. I mean, we listened to the top 40 every Sunday, but mostly we were out in the sunshine. We don't get as much sunshine over here as you do, of course.
No,
but,
no.
You know, it was a very idyllic upbringing. Although you don't know that at the time, do you? It's just what you do, isn't it?
That's
when
right.
You're a kid, you just accept whatever's in front of you.
So
I was kind of a late teenager when I kind of met people like Anglin Buttimore, who was a keyboard player I worked with on and off for 3 or 4 years on the island before I left, and his influence was quite deep and penetrating. He introduced me to Joni Mitchell, Bonnie Raitt, Steely Dan, Weather Report, the Little River Band, The Band, lots and lots of really great music. So I was kind of late coming to it, really.
Can you pinpoint a time when you discovered your voice, so to speak?
That was very early on. I was 6 years old when I knew that's what I wanted to do, or that's what I was going to do. And I still can't recall why, other than it was just a very strong, clear thing, like an inward direction. Yeah, okay, that's what I didn't know how I was going to do it. But from about the age of maybe 8 or 9, I sang in the church choir and in the school choir. And then when I was about 10, my mum and my sister was 12. My mum and dad got us guitars for Christmas, and that kind of was the beginning of really coming to grips with it. Learning to play songs and having somewhere to sing them. Usually in school concerts and things like that. And when I left school at 16, and somebody pushed me up at an open mic night one time, and that really got me going.
I believe one of your early breaks was singing for late night radio too.
Yes,
Tell us about that.
It's a local radio in Manchester. So when I was 21 in 1983, I managed, through some quirk of fate, I managed to get this gig at independent Manchester radio, Piccadilly Radio. And they were one of the first radio stations in the UK to get a 24-hour franchise. And at that time, the MU, the Musicians' Union, still had teeth, and they made them put in their contract that they had to have 10% of their output be live music. So they basically did it between 2 and 6 in the morning. So, and I was one of maybe 5 or 6 night beat. The program was called Night Beat musicians, and I did, on average about 2 nights a week for about 2 years, and that gave me a living wage, and I got to sing in a cupboard, and sing to a door in the middle of the night. And I did make, you did sometimes 2 songs an hour for the time you were there. But it really gave me a foothold in Britain. So then, when I wasn't doing that, I was going out and singing at folk clubs and stuff like that.
Did it take long for you to develop a stage confidence?
Yep. I mean, although I had this very, very strong urge to sing, I'm also a doubting Thomas, and I was certainly full of doubts about, my ability and/or whether people could be bothered to listen and all of that kind of stuff. And in the early days, I used to apologise for breathing, let alone making mistakes, which of course one does all the time. And somebody quite early on in my career said to me, people are there to have a good time. They don't want to see you in distress.
Yeah.
That's not going to help you. And when I really understood that, then I learned to overcome those doubts. If I was going to do it, then I was going to do it. And I learned to pretend if I was frightened, or I'd lost or forgotten something, and now I'm a dab hand at fudging it.
Another early major break you got was getting to tour with Richard Thompson, which must have been a fantastic learning experience for you.
Oh, that was amazing. And that was really because I met Clive Gregson in '84 in Manchester, and he'd already worked with Richard on and off for a couple of years. And he was about to do Across a Crowded Room on Polydor Records, and he'd invited Clive to do the backing vocals, and Clive suggested me as somebody else, and Richard really liked what he heard. So we went in to do 3 songs, and we actually ended up being on just about every song on the album because he liked what we did. And he invited Clive to be in his live band the following year on his US tour. And about 3 weeks before they went away, they realised that if they really tied their belts in, they could offer me somebody, and they invited me along too, and that was just fantastic.
You're still quite a young age then, weren't you?
Well, I was only 22, 23.
Wow.
23. But I seemed a lot younger than I really was. One of the lovely things about coming from the Isle of Man is a certain innocence that stays with you a bit longer than most people, because it is it's like being back in the 50s, people say, when they come here. And I think that's quite sweet. It's not a bad thing to be open to the world.
Well, when the time came for you to leave the Isle and go out into the big wide world, did you have any specific expectations of what the future would bring?
I had no idea at all. I was petrified. I knew that. But I also knew that if I didn't leave, then I wouldn't be able to do this thing that I wouldn't be able to make my life around music and singing. So it was, one fear outgrew the other.
Yeah.
So I managed to do it. And sometimes I wonder how, but I did.
Tell us about the duo with Clive. It was you turned out some fantastic records during that time. Were you looking to get into a duo type situation at that stage?
No, not at all. In fact, Clive thought he was going to turn me into some kind of housewife superstar, and and it just didn't happen. And because we worked with Richard, we also started going out together, which in retrospect was probably not the right thing to do. But when we were with Richard in the band, we worked with him for 3 years on the road, and in between times we started doing folk clubs together as something to do when we weren't working with Richard, and we enjoyed that so much that kind of superseded any idea for me to do my own thing, which I still could have done, but I suppose you do what's easiest at the time, don't you?
Yeah.
And I know people loved what we did, and a lot of it was actually really good fun, but also because of the personal thing, unfortunately, it all kind of fell apart and became very difficult for me particularly. So eventually we had to kind of split. I know a lot of people were disappointed by that, but it was just too hard for me.
So the initial plan was basically for you to be the vehicle for Clive's songs. Was that how it was originally set out to be?
Well, not just Clive's songs. I mean, he did write off to lots of people he knew and asked them to write songs for me, but they didn't. People who do that, they want to know that their songs are going to be heard, and with somebody that an unknown, it's quite difficult, I think. I ended up singing mostly Clive songs, but that wasn't the idea in the beginning. And actually, recently, a record company over here called Got Discs has re-released all the Gregson and Collister albums.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So, blast from the past.
Was there a defining moment when you decided that it just wasn't working anymore and you had to sort of break away?
No, I mean, it took me a long time to realise that actually I could do something about my misery. There wasn't one defining moment. No, it took a long time for me to realise that actually I had some responsibility in my own life, and that if this wasn't working for me, then I had to kind of put a stop to it. And it was really, really hard.
Yeah.
Like most people, when things aren't going right, we don't really know what to do. And eventually it was a really big decision to make.
Sure.
But you do it, don't you?
It must be difficult in a duo situation, even more so than being within the confines of a band when there's just the two of you, virtually, I guess, living out of each other's pockets.
Yeah.
Looking back, do you think there was anything you could have done to avoid the split?
Yeah, not go out with him.
That would help.
Not live with him. That would have been fine.
Yeah.
If he just remained professional, I'm sure that would have been fine. But the human heart is a very strange thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so. Yeah, had I been a bit more businesslike about the whole thing, I'm sure I could have, I could have grown through it. But people are messy. We made a mess. But it's cleared up now. That's fine.
Yeah,
but, yeah, it was really hard at the time.
So, how long did it take for you to be up and ready for a solo career?
About 15 years.
Really?
I mean, I did things. Almost immediately of Gregson and Collister doing our final tour, I worked with a fantastic singer-songwriter and kind of jazz and cabaret performer, Barb Younger. I worked with her and Ian Shaw, another great jazz singer, and Michael Parker, who worked with Barb for many years. And the four of us did a show called Hellbent Heaven Bound up in Edinburgh at the festival for 3 weeks. It was 21 songs about death and dying.
Wow.
It was fun.
Yeah.
And it was lots of harmony work, which I absolutely loved. And it was really inspiring to work with more than one person, to four heads are better than two.
Yeah.
and that was great. And the following year, we did a similar kind of thing, but this time with Helen Watson instead of Ian, because he wasn't available. And Helen Watson is just an amazing singer-songwriter from Manchester here, whom is still a very, very good friend of mine, and we still work together. And I also worked with Howard Lees and Rory McFarland, who were in Rory was in Richard's band, that's why I met him, and Howard was just a fantastic guitar player I'd known for a long time. And we did a live album, the three of us, as a trio, and that was really my first attempt at a solo thing, and that was in '94, I think that came out.
Which is something many would consider a brave move to open your solo career with a live record. Was there any particular reason you chose to go that way?
The first thing Clive and I did was a live record, Home and Away.
Yeah.
I mean, live is where I'm happiest. That for me is the most fun I have.
Yeah. With
music, is being in front of a live audience and being spontaneous and only getting the chance to sing something once. I get a bit. I find studio work much harder.
Yeah.
Well, it's just as rewarding, but it's a much harder place for me to express myself, I think.
It's more of a chore.
It's not a chore as such. It's a challenge.
Yeah.
I find it a lot more challenging. And I suppose the older I get, the more experience I have, the less of a chore it is, and it's still challenging. It's still challenging to me, but I'm starting to embrace it a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm a late developer, John.
One project you've been involved with over the years, which looks like a lot of fun, is Daphne's Flight.
Oh, that was brilliant. Yeah, that was really good fun. That was with Chris Wilde, Julie Matthews, Helen, of course, Helen Watson, and Melanie Harold. And we only made one record and did one tour, but both experiences were absolutely brilliant. And we did actually do a little kind of semi-revival about 3 years ago at a festival. We did, a 40-minute spot together as a kind of reminder. And although it was really good fun, it's just impossible to get us all together at the same time these days. Yeah.
You mentioned you love harmony singing. What to you is the key element to good harmony singing? Is it having any
listening?
Listening, yeah.
Yeah, listening. Listening to the blend. The harmony is much more important than the bit you're doing. It's the overall sound. That it's really important that's paramount. Listening.
I get the impression that even though you've got this solo career going so well, you still enjoy very much being in a part of a group situation, being a team player, for want of a better word?
Yeah, I love what I'm really amazed at is that I can now do both and enjoy both with kind of equanimity. I'm surprised, completely and utterly amazed that I'm able to get up on stage on my own and hold an audience for a full night, and I can do it, and it's really good fun. I mean, I'm not the best guitar player in the world, but I've come a long way since I first picked it up. After Clive and I split up, and I'm really quite amazed that I can do it. But equally, it's a joy to be with other people. You can kind of let go in a different way. Mm-hmm. I've recently, over the past couple of years, I've been out on the road with Dave Kelly, wonderful blues guitar player and singer, in a band. Like, we're a 6-piece band, and that's just been great. It's just fun from start to finish. Really, really good fun.
When you began recording solo records, was there anything in particular you wanted to do with those records to, I guess, distinguish them from what people knew of you before with your work with Clive?
No, well, yes, obviously. I mean, yes, but I didn't know what that might be.
Yeah.
What does it... The biggest thing I think I've always kind of held on to is that I want to be the first me, not the second anybody else.
Yeah.
I've always been aware that I want to sound like me, and I think that's a lifetime's work, personally. I think it is really hard to know who you are. That's why we're here for a set amount of time, because it takes a long time to kind of come to terms with yourself and pick out the influence and because we're influenced by everything on a daily basis. That's part of the human condition as well. But somewhere in that, finding your own voice, I think that's the most fascinating thing for me. I'm sure as somebody listening, you don't think about that at all. You either like it or you don't. But as a performer, that's kind of my main interest, really. Do
you have a criteria that you go through when choosing material to record? Is there anything about a song that makes it one you want to cover?
Well, quite often, you can have a list of reasons why you should or shouldn't sing a song, and then you'll hear something and you think, yeah, I want to do that, and it completely blows your list of criteria out the water. So it's really difficult to know how you make that decision. I think there's a certain magic about it, a certain kind of moment at which the song chooses you almost.
Yeah.
But for me, I mean, a good lyric and a good tune really is a basic premise. But then you've got taste, haven't you? You've got, well, what is a good tune and a good lyric? To me, might not be to somebody else. So it's a mystery most of the time.
Mm. I guess you're known more as a song interpreter than a songwriter as such. Is writing something you'd like to develop more?
Well, I have developed it more this past 5 or 6 years, I suppose. On the last couple of studio albums I did, An Equal Love and Into the Light, I had a fair smattering of my own songs on there, and I'm writing more and more. But I am still and always will be a singer first and foremost, and so I am led by that rather than, I have to sing my songs. There are so many great songs out there, and it's, it can be quite humbling when you start to write a song thinking, of all the great songs that are out there, why write when other people write better? But there is also a part of me that needs to express, or certainly experiment with that side of the creative process.
Yeah. Now, I was looking at your website earlier today, and you mentioned that you weren't going to be touring much this year, that you've got a couple of projects on the go that you really want to focus on. What can you tell us about those, or are you sworn to secrecy?
Well, it's I'm making a record for an American company called Blick Street Records, and they're most known for Eva Cassidy, bringing Eva Cassidy to the world. And Bill Straw and Lois Gerard, who own and run the record company, are absolutely delightful people who just love good music. And I think probably particularly female vocals. And by some strange quirk of fate, they came across me through the internet, and then they came to see me perform in London last year. And Bill had this great idea to make a pop soul classic album with me as something that's quite different to what I've done before. In the hope that we might gain a larger audience, I suppose. Mm-hmm. And that's really quite exciting. I'm going over to the States to start work on that in July, which is, wow.
Fantastic.
How lovely is that? And at the same time, I'm working on an album of self-penned and a smattering of covers. And I've kind of been working on that for the last year, really, on and off, in between working, in between live work. So it's kind of an attempt to try something new and different, and to try and shake myself up as much as anything.
Wow.
So
a couple of exciting projects there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
With the soul album, have they got musicians lined up for you over there to work with, or?
Well, we've got a producer, possibly, who's excited about doing it, and he's in the process of figuring out how and where to do it. And we've got a list of songs that kind of grows and then reduces itself and then grows again, and it's kind of a moving feast at the moment. But again, the huge amount of songs that you can choose from is very exciting. Yeah. I don't, until I've done it, really, it's like a little dream. But it's not quite real yet. But it's coming.
So, in terms of song selections or anything like that, nothing has been decided yet, or anything?
No, it's all kind of moving around. I'd hate to say, yes, we're going to do this, this and this, and then find out, actually, when it comes down to it, those songs aren't on there. So, I'll keep it a mystery at the moment.
Fantastic. Oh, that's fantastic. Great to look forward to that. Christine, thanks so much for your time.
You're very welcome. Thank you, John. So what is it that you're going to try and do here?
Oh, we're going to package this into a 2-hour Christine Collister special.
Wow, 2 hours?
2 hours of you, yeah.
Oh, my God, that sounds fantastic. If you need anything at all, please let us know, and we'll supply you with any stuff you don't have.
Oh, we hope we can get you down here, too.
I would love to. Well, whereabouts are you?
I'm in Melbourne.
You're in Melbourne. Oh, I love Melbourne. My brother, Paul, moved out to Perth 2 years ago. I've not seen him for 2 years. He and his family's got 4 kids out there. Right. And I would absolutely love to go over and then visit him whilst I was there,
I don't think we've
had... There might be a chance that my partner and I, Bob Miller, we might be out there in October or November.
Oh, tremendous!
For a short stop. But if we can stop in at Melbourne, I'd come in and say hi.
Oh, that'd be great. Well,
okay. Well, I'll let you know.
Bring your guitar with you, and
I'll try to. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how possible that is, but certainly I'd like to.
In terms of a tour, I don't think we've had you down here since you were down with Clive. Is that right?
No, I was there actually in '99.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I came over solo, and I did the Port Fairy Music Festival.
Ah, yes, yeah.
I did also something in Melbourne that was part of another festival.
Probably Brunswick.
Yes, Brunswick, there you go.
I
have such a bad memory.
Yeah, it's around the same time.
And a smattering of bits and pieces, something in Adelaide, a couple of things in Adelaide, one out in the mountains, one in the town, and something in Sydney. Unfortunately, not very many people came, but, but I love being there. I love the country. I just love the feeling of space, and, I do love it.
Oh, well, you're well overdue, so it'd be great if we get you down again.
Yeah, it would be great, yeah.
Okay. Well, best of luck with it. Keep us posted on how those projects are going. And
yes, I will.
If you don't come down here, we might do something over the phone again to have a chat about those.
Yeah, no problem at all, John. And when you've got it done, let me know, and I'd like to listen in, see.
Yeah, for sure. We broadcast online, so I can let you know how to tune in.
Oh, brilliant.
Great. Thanks, Christine.
Thank you very much, John.
You take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Just